Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the webinar organized by AOI India. Today's topic is a little out of the box and will interest one and all. Today's topic is Learn to Build Your Financial Pyramid. Moderators for today's webinar are Dr. Samir Bhargava, who's the National President of AOI and Professor at HBT Medical College and Cooper Hospital and Consultant at Hinduja Care Healthcare Hospital, Mumbai.
Good evening.
Dr. Kaushal Seth, who's the Honorary Secretary AOI, who's the consultant at State AJB Municipal ENT Hospital, Mumbai. Also, Dr. Kaushal comes from a finance background and being a CA's son and a stock market investor himself since his early days. Now, over to Dr. Kaushal Seth to set the ball rolling.
Thank you, Vikram, for the kind words. Good evening, everybody. As we all know, we are living in very uncertain and testing times. This pandemic period has affected us professionally and financially in one way or the other, and it has changed our lives forever. But there is a silver lining in this crowd that the COVID crisis has presented to us. It is a lifetime opportunity. If we do not utilize this time to take a closer look at our physical health as well as our financial health, then we ourselves are to blame. It's absolutely essential that to establish our financial goals early on in our professional career, we need to be clear and be well informed about the different choices and ways and means to achieve this. This would let us efficiently enjoy our hard-earned money. Keeping this in mind, AOI has organized a webinar series, Rewrite Your Money Story, along with a very well-reputed firm, Vama Plantrich, who will guide us to take care of our financial health. I'm sure this series will be extremely useful to not only colleagues who intend to start investing early or have just started their financial planning and investments, but also for our seasoned seniors who can refresh their knowledge and investment skills via this. To help us understand this financial planning in a more simplified way, it is my pleasure to introduce Ms. Khyati Mashru Vasani. Ms. Khyati Mashru Vasani is a chartered wealth manager. She is the founder and the chief financial coach of Plantrich and Vama Plantrich LLP. She is also an entrepreneur, a financial columnist, and influencer in personal finance who specializes in discovering the financial DNAs of her clients. She is currently acting as a CFO to more than 350 client families. She is passionately driven by her mission to help her clients rewrite their money story, for the good, of course, over the last decade. She's also been a regular columnist at 3 regular regional daily newspapers. And to top it all, she is the winner of the Young Innovator in Finance by the International Women Leaders Forum. Over to you, Khyati, for a wonderful session ahead. Thank you.
Thank you so much. First and foremost, a very warm welcome to each and everyone who's participating on this webinar. And thank you so much, AOI, for the wonderful opportunity. It's a pleasure to connect with all the members of the association and help them rewrite their money story. Well, I won't take much of time. We will straight get into the topic. And yeah, I'm going to start sharing my screen. Just a second. Doctor, is my screen visible? Just checking.
No, not yet. Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, just a second. Yeah, visible now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. We begin. First and foremost, we're going to try and make this entire session interactive, informative, and fun to learn. Finance is always regarded as a boring subject, so I'm not here to bore you with a lot of number crunching and all. So we'll try and make it interactive. Please keep posting your questions and comments in the chat box. We'll be more than happy to take it up. If you have any question at any given point in time, do make a point to, again, paste it in the comment box. And I promise to answer each and every question that comes our way. So maybe during the webinar or after the webinar, I'll make sure that each and every question is answered. Okay, people, why are we here? Okay. Um, I'm not sure how many of you have read Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And Mr. Kiyosaki says that, personal finance is something which is very, very important. But unfortunately, it's not really taught in any school, colleges, for that sake, even medical colleges. We do learn that into business colleges when we're doing our MBAs, but that's on a macro level. Again, when it comes to personal finance, we don't really have a specific subject which helps us understand how we should manage our own money and our own financial life. So that is the reason that we're here, because basics of creating, maximizing, and sustaining wealth was not taught to us in any school and colleges. Why is financial fitness important? Financial fitness helps you swim through a black swan event without much worry. The international media, this entire COVID crisis, have named this as a black swan event, something that we never really thought about, something that we never really anticipated across the globe. So it's a black swan event. But when you have a good financial fitness, you don't really need to worry about such black swan events coming into. So this is one thing. But when you talk about a human life cycle, or when you talk about an individual life, there can be so many uncertainties that we can come across, which probably we have never really thought of. So when financial fitness is in place, you don't really need to worry about those things. Why it's important? Again, because wealth is an ability to fully experience life. Yes, money is very much important to live a very happy and a peaceful life. But again, how much is enough, and when is it a time to draw a line? That is also very, very important. So we're going to talk about that as we move forward. Well, I'll begin with a story. Okay. And something that I want to leave you guys, like a thought which you need to think deeply on, a thought for you to ponder on. This is a story of two guys, Pablo and Bruno. Okay. So Pablo and Bruno were looking for a work, and they were not really getting any success. At the end, they found a village, which said that all you need to do is go to a mountain up to the stream. I mean, there was a stream coming from the mountain, so you just go there every day. And all you need to do is carry buckets of water to our village every day. And, you get $1 per bucket. So they both backed this job, and they both were very happy because they were looking for something, but they were not really getting. And now they found something which was really nice, because, they'll more like they get like a daily earning. Every time they carry a bucket, they will be able to earn money. So they started that. They were very happy. Life was all going on well. They were able to buy their home. They were able to get married. Things were all going fine. One day, Bruno thought that this is something which I won't be able to do all my life. With time, I will age. With time, I will, of course, my health is not really going to support me. And at that time, I am going to have a challenge. So what he thought is, I need to start building a pipeline simultaneously. So what he did is, he was spending 75% of his time carrying buckets to take care of his existing expenses. And 25% of his time and money he was spending to build a pipeline. Okay. So 1 second, I'm just pausing for a minute. Devang, we have messages from some people about a slow transmission. Can we do something about it?
Lots of buffering, that's what I'm getting.
Yeah. So Devang, can we do something about it?
Okay, ma'am, I will check.
Yeah, please check it.
It's fine. Okay. Here, I can hear you clear without any buffering.
Without any buffering? Okay, perfect. So we'll continue. In the meantime, we have a technical person who's looking into that concern as well. Well, so yeah, Pablo and Bruno. And Bruno started giving 25% of his time to start building a pipeline, because he knew that someday I won't be able to do this. And it went by like 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Pablo was very happy because he was successful. He was making more money in that 25% of the extra time that he was spending. His lifestyle was getting better. His present was getting all the more better. When it comes to Bruno, he had to compromise on few things on his lifestyle, but he was focusing on building a pipeline. 10 years later, of course, you know what happened. Pablo grew old. He was not really able to continue carrying buckets, and his income stopped. His health was not able to support him. Same when it comes to Bruno, the pipeline dream that Bruno had dreamt of was almost completed. And by the time Bruno was old, the pipeline had reached village, and there was no question of carrying buckets. It was all measured on the liters of water supplied to the village. And according to that, he was paid money. So again, with this story, my question to you is, where do you see yourself? Are you carrying buckets or are you building a pipeline? Like, you know, a lot of people that we meet, because in our practice, I mean, specialize into planning for doctors, and a lot of doctors that I meet have been telling me that it's more like a day job. You know, the day we're working, it's there. The day we don't work, there's absolutely nothing. So this entire crisis is a situation where you need to start thinking about building your own pipeline. And it's very, very essential. You need to start building a passive source of income, because your jobs are irreplaceable. You know, when you have a hospital and when you have a number of doctors practicing, that's a different story. But still, you as a doctor, you as a brand yourself is absolutely irreplaceable. When a patient wants to seize you, he just wants to seize you. So this is precisely a reason why you need to start thinking about building a pipeline. And maybe this is a question that you need to ask yourself, that where am I? Below that, if you can see the last line which I have mentioned, is your money working as hard as you? You are working hard. I mean, you know how many hours you put into your practice, but is your money working as hard as you are working? Again, that's a thought for you to ponder. Few things. Candidly, I'm going to say this. Few people might not like it, but still I'll say these things. You will continue to carry buckets if these are some few mistakes which you're committing. Let's see what those mistakes are. You'll continue to carry buckets if you are keeping all your money in saving bank account, keeping maximum of your money in FD. Nothing beats locking away your money to underperform inflation. If you see both these things, saving bank account interest rates are further slashed. Before COVID, 4%. When you compare it with inflation, it's much lesser post-tax return. So what are you doing with your money? It's not even keeping pace with inflation. Same is with the FD. The interest is taxable. It's added as income from other source and it's taxable. The net return post-tax does not even take care of inflation. If you are continuously buying money back and endowment insurance plans, you will continue to carry buckets. If you're not learning about asset allocations because you know about alliterations, buying more, 50% sale just can't get better than this. I have seen people 50% sale, chalo, let's go and buy, even the things which you don't need. But वो 50% discount लेने के लिए 50% तो हमें अपने pocket से ही pay करना पड़ता है. And we end up buying things which we don't need. So again, if we continue with this lifestyle, we're going to continue carrying buckets. Buying equipments on EMI. So I have met so many people, equipments they're buying on EMI, but that money is there lying in their current bank account, doing nothing. Current bank account earns absolutely zero interest. And if you see on equipments, generally the percentage of interest charged is a lot more higher. Invest maximum of the money in real estate. Real estate, yeah, it's a good investment. It has to be a part of your asset allocation, but you need to know how much is enough because it's relatively very illiquid asset. And kuch time tak it was a good asset to have in the portfolio. Max it because you get tax benefit, because overall the yield was better if you look at it post tax. But now it's not really that great. So it is important for you to check how much is enough when it comes to real estate. And again, post demonetization, post GST, India as an economy, current situation is completely different, but as a whole, when I talk, India as an economy is moving from being physical assets where we had maximum investments into real estate and gold to being a financial, like into financialization of assets, moving towards paper assets, moving towards more liquid assets. So again, this is a thought which you need to think on further. And if you're thinking delay is costing you nothing, opportunity, age, and time are going to wait forever at your doorstep. So people tell me, aaj nahi karenge, baad mein kar lenge. So again, if you're thinking that, then it's a completely different thing. Okay, let's understand what is different for a doctor as compared to a normal human life cycle. So I'm going to talk a little more on that. तो अगर हम एक नॉर्मल ह्यूमन की लाइफ देखेंगे, they're studying, the education goes on till the age of 23, 24, 25, and then they start working, and they continuously work till age of 55 or 60. 25 years of education with internship or whatever you call it. Technically, it is 23, 24 years if you do your PG. Up to another 30 years of working. So I'm saying 25 to 55. And 55 ke baad retirement with a life expectancy of 85, another 30 years. 25 years, 30 years, and another 30 years. Whereas what is different in a life cycle of a doctor? First is the education is over quite late. So by the time a doctor actually starts working and making money, it's already maybe 28 or 30. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is out of my experience of meeting so many doctors. So by 30, they actually start working. Then at that's the time when they are at the peak of their responsibility curve. Time to get married, time to buy a home, time to have kids, time to spend for kids' education, and of course your own lifestyle aspirations, and then kids' marriage. So when the career begins, at that same time, you're at the peak of your responsibility. And then again, when it comes to retirement, there is no guarantee, no surety. Like a normal person has a retirement age of 55, 58, or 60. With doctors, we have people even at 75, even at 78, they're still practicing, still going strong, still going practicing. Well, I'm not saying it's bad. As a professional, you need to practice. And of course, it's your work at the end of the day. But all that I'm trying to say is that you should work out of choice and not out of compulsion. Not because your finances are not well managed and because there are more responsibilities for you to take care of, you stretching yourself. That should not be the case. So let longevity of your career actually be a choice and not a compulsion. That is very, very important. And the life cycle of a doctor as a professional, it's completely different. Retirement, if you see in phase 3 on your screen, it's completely a question mark. Kabhi hota hai, wo nahi pata hai. And that is all the more the reason that you need to plan. I will not use the word retirement, but maybe you need to have a plan in place to be financially free. That is very, very important. Okay, before you start thinking about finances, these are the very basics. Now, what are the 4 cornerstone areas for you as a doctor? What are the things that you first need to understand before getting into the practice, before getting into your financial plan? First and foremost, and these are the things again for you to think about during this lockdown period, and even after that, even if lockdown gets over, etc., we still need to sit and very thoroughly think and have clarity for these points. First, you need to understand what is the structure, scalability, and profitability of your practice, right? The way you're practicing, how scalable your practice is, and what is the net percentage of your profitability versus the money that is getting generated, the gross amount of money that you collect, and the percentage of profitability post your expenses, post your professional expenses. Another very important thing for you as a professional, managing the risk and uncertainty of the profession itself and even uncertainties of life. Because even in your profession, there are a few risks and uncertainties. We will talk more about it in some other session, but even as there are threats to medicine as a professional. So you need to safeguard your assets and your income both from it. from it, as that could be a potential threat to your assets and income both. You need to understand, where are you now? Where do you really want to be? And how are you going to get there? These are the three things for which you need to have an absolute clarity, again, when it comes to your own finances. More importantly, getting there on time. हाँ, world tour करना important है, but world tour कौन सी age में करोगे तो you'll be able to make the most of it is also important. World tour is important, but going there at an age of 75 will not really make a lot of sense. Your son needs to get married, your daughter needs to get married, they need to go for higher education. Yes, they need to go, the goal is certain, but again, वो time पे होना भी बहुत बहुत जरूरी है. So that is what financial planning is all about. Financial planning is actually striking a balance between your present and your future both. And I think genius lies usi mein to genius hai. I mean, when you are able to strike a right balance between your present and future, you're a genius. So that's what a right financial planning does for you. Another important things, you need to work on a totality of your financial life cycle. So आपको तीनों areas पे काम करना है. Working on your earnings, very important. Working on the saving that you're making from your earning. And importantly, working on earnings generated by converting that savings into investments. So basically, your financial plan, your portfolio, your investments, these are the sources of creating a passive income. This is you building your pipeline. So you have to start thinking on those lines. That will help you make your pipeline. That will help you design your pipeline. Well, we move forward. Now, before you make a pipeline, very, very important thing is that you need to understand your leakages. Pipeline तो हम बना देंगे, लेकिन leakages को हम नहीं समझेंगे, तो we won't be able to fix that. So we will move on to understanding the secrets of building a pipeline also. But before we go there, we need to understand what are the leakages of your pipeline. Okay. First and foremost, the leakage has to be a protection quotient. Will your family sustain in case of eventuality? I will speak more on this in the next slide. You need to know what is your debt quotient. Percentage of your asset versus percentage of your debt. If you have assets worth 10 crore and if उसके ऊपर loan आपका 5 crore है, so your debt to asset ratio is only 50%. Matlab your net worth is not 10 crores, it is just 5 crores. You need to understand what is your saving quotient. Money saved is money earned. End of the day, what percentage of money are you actually saving? So if you're earning say 5 lakhs a month, and if you are saving say about a lakh, your saving quotient is only 20%. And you need to think at an age of 35, 40, whatever age you are at, will I be able to, with 20% of a saving quotient, will I be able to plan for rest of my life? That's again a thought which I leave you with, and you've got to calculate how well planned are you there. And not just saving, but wo saving quotient ko are you actually even investing? Because there is a difference in saving and investment. Saving is something which is saving. I mean, it's just a money that you've kept aside. Investing is where your money is making you money more than inflation. That's when I can say that your money is working for you, or your money is working as hard as you. So ek cheez hai saving, and then how optimally are you investing that is also very, very important. And another important thing you need to understand is dependency quotient. God forbid something goes wrong, how many people are dependent on your income? Will they be able to sustain in a situation like that? That's again a thought for you to think on. And first, before you start planning your finances, you've got to fix these things. Only then you can move ahead and design a financial plan. And it is very, very important for you to have a financial plan in place. And financial plan is not something in mind. It is something which has to be written on a piece of paper. Has to be absolutely crystal clear. It's like, agar aap koi bhi organization ko dekh lenge, any corporate, they have their business plan absolutely thorough. They have their vision plan for next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and 20 years. The large corporates have started working on rebuilding their business plan after the entire COVID situation. If you talk about the vision of the company, I mean, everybody who's working there is aligned with the vision. I'm giving you an example of organization to even, you'll have to relate it with your life. The same is with your life. क्या आपके लाइफ का बिजनेस प्लान अगले 5, 10, 15, 20 सालों के लिए रेडी है? क्या आप और आपकी फैमिली, I mean, do you have a vision, like as a family, that where do you want to go? And it has to be clear. और आपके financial plan में 3 चीजें होना जरूरी है. Where are you now? Where do you want to be? And how are you going to get there? So when this plan is clear and in place, all that you need to do is work on the execution, work on choosing the right asset classes to reach there. यहाँ पे इश्यू क्या है कि हमको पता ही नहीं कि हमको जाना कहाँ है. But till the time I don't know where I want to go, how am I going to choose the vehicles to reach there? So it's same with your goals, same with your financial plan. You need to understand where you want to go, and then choose a right vehicles in form of different asset classes: equity, debt, gold, real estate, different kind of things, international investing, any kind of asset class, which is the asset class that will take you there on time, keeping the risks in mind. So these are the leakages of your pipeline. Now I'll move ahead. How to start building your financial pyramid when you are just beginning? How do you start building your financial pyramid? अभी इसको हमने pyramid सबसे पहले क्यों कहा है? The reason why I have said that it's a pyramid is because we all know that pyramid lasts for many years just because the base of the pyramid is very strong. And it lasts for, I've heard it lasts for like more than hundreds of years because of a very, very stronger base. So now same, when it comes to financial pyramid, its first thing is about the protection. Now, if you understand protection में क्या-क्या चीजें होनी चाहिए, first and foremost, you need to have a term plan. You need to have an adequate term plan. Just term plan is not enough. Okay, it has to be as per your human life value. I have seen people telling me insurance है कितना 50 lakh का है, 60 lakh का है, but is it okay as per your family's requirement? Is it fine as per your responsibilities? That's the question that you need to ask yourself. Having enough medical insurance. Medical insurance ये समझकर आपको लेना है कि आप इसे आज use नहीं करने वाले, you're going to use it 20, 30 years later. Considering that, is it sufficient? Critical illness insurance, but if you have sufficient medical insurance, you don't really need to go for a separate one. Very, very important, writing a will. People tell me, maybe after I retire, I'll write a will. उतना पहले asset ही नहीं है, तो will क्यों लिखे हम? These are the kind of things that we encounter. But trust me, life is unpredictable. And we right now we're seeing that we're living in a VUCA world. Okay, we don't know kal kya hoga. But life throughout, it's going to be uncertain, and that's the reality of life. And it is very, very important for you to write a will. Just one thing, अगर आपने कोई भी investment में nomination कर दिया है, nominee is a trustee of your money. Nominee is not the one who has right to your money. If somebody comes and says that I have a right to this money, and if you don't have will, or if you die intested, which is without writing a will, then that entire case can be taken up in the court, and as per Hindu Succession Act or Indian Succession Act, whatever money whoever is liable to get from your family will get it. Will is just a simple piece of document. Use this lockdown period to just go and try any kind of a template of a will. We will also be more than happy to send you a sample will template. Just put down your name, your assets, whatever details you have for your financial life. Write it on a piece of paper and keep it for your family's safety. It's very, very important. And especially for women, it's completely different. And it's all the more important for a woman to write a will. Because as per Hindu Succession Act, if a woman has a dependent parents on her, They come 7th in a row in Hindu Succession Act. They're quite late. I would not say 7th, but yeah, they are on number between 5th or 7th in a row where they can claim a benefit of this. So there are other people first who come, and then it can be your parents who can claim rights over it. So this is very, very important. Don't take it lightly. Another important thing is having enough of emergency fund in place. So at least 3 to 6 months of your expenses should be in emergency fund. If there is any kind of emergency, you should be able to withdraw money out of that fund. And you should not be disturbing other parts of your pyramid in emergency. So it's very important. It's simple. जब हम land खरीदते हैं तो सबसे पहले वो land को fence करते हैं just to protect it. We buy a home, but of course you'll buy the best quality of lock just to protect your house. So all these things are just like that. It's like first you have to build your protection. You have to build your base. Then you move on to regular savings. Then you move on to low risk kind of an investment, where you talk about planning for your child's education, your retirement planning, and home ownership planning, which means reducing your debt. Regular savings, these are like your, I call it RKM, planning for your roti kapra makan. These are non-negotiable goals. Plan करना ही है child education के लिए, plan करना ही है retirement के लिए. There are no two things about it. Goal भी बहुत certain है और goal का timing भी बहुत certain है. And that is the reason you need to plan it through low risk kind of an instruments. Then you move on to growth and diversification, where you can take a little more risk, get into mutual fund, ETF, bonds, and stocks. Then you get into speculation. So once you have planned for your basics, you can then start taking more risk. The reason why you need to go into this step by step, कि फिर आपका स्पेकुलेशन में कुछ बेट गलत भी हो जाती है या कहीं पे लॉस हो जाता है या ऐसे सिचुएशंस भी आ जाते हैं जिसमें हम अभी फिलहाल है. You don't have to worry about it because the base of your pyramid is strong. You don't have to worry. Child's education partially is going to be taken care of. Retirement, I don't have to worry. It's going to be taken care of. When these things are in place, you won't worry even if you make small losses. Because of base being strong, वो particular asset को hold करने का जो time period है या capacity है, वो भी बढ़ जाएगी. You won't mind holding it for a longer duration because you don't really have to worry about other things. Then you move on to speculation, which is commodities, real estate, forex, futures trading, and then wealth distribution, where you're talking about succession planning, where you're talking about the wealth that you've built. How can it be, go on to your other generation? Let's say if you have a son and a daughter and a total asset that you have is 10 crores, जो आपने बनाया. Example दे रही हूँ. After you, that asset will be divided between the both. Okay. But at the same time, they won't be able to start or leave it at 10 crores from where you have started. They won't be able to start from there. That is breaking into two parts. So again, how you can do a plan where your money can make more money for you and it can go, 10 crores go to your son also and 10 crores go to your daughter also. That's something which is called as a legacy planning. That's something which we call it as estate planning, wherein whatever estates you have made by forming a different kind of trusts, etc., you just move on to wealth distribution. So once you're done with the 4 steps, you need to start thinking on that. And this is precisely the reason that you need to start building your wealth in steps. And when you have this pyramid in place, such kind of situations, you won't be much worried because you have enough emergency fund to take care of emergency. You have enough term insurance. If something goes wrong, family is not going to face a financial loss. You have enough of health insurance. Again, if something goes wrong, it will be taken care of. Investments, थोड़े कुछ आपने करके रखे हैं, which is more like guaranteed to come at that particular time. So you don't even need to worry about those goals. So that is why in the first slide, I said that when you have financial fitness, you don't need to worry about such black swan events. This is about building your financial pyramid. और जो पिछले slide में I was talking about a protection quotient. This protection quotient is a base of your pyramid, which we just discussed about. Moving forward, now you need to understand the secret of building a pipeline. ये 4 चीजें आपको, like 5 things you have to make it work in your favor. And if you make it work in your favor, for sure you'll be able to build a pipeline. Fix your leakages and then focus on these 5 things. Okay, so I need some answers from the audience. And Manoj, you can tell us if we, keep receiving answers from the audience, if we are receiving proper answers from all of them. So my first question to the audience is, I want you all to guess, okay? What is your possible wealth demon? Who is your possible wealth demon? Well, we have some answers coming in, but I won't make you wait much and we'll just go forward. Your wealth demon is none other than inflation. Okay, it's just like an invisible killer. It's like a shark. You cannot really see it, but yes, it is an invisible killer. Let us see how. Now I'm going to get on to some numbers. Okay, so now if you see, how does inflation hurt? Let's say if you have time frame of 10 years, 20 years or 30 years, purchasing power for 1 crore, 10 years down the line will be 50 lakhs, 20 years down the line will be 25 lakhs, and 30 years down the line will be 12.5 lakhs. आज आपके पास 1 crore है, but after a while, it will be considered as 12.5 lakhs. The purchasing power will reduce to 12.5 lakhs. Same thing. Let's look at another column. Living expense for 1 lakh per month. If today you need 1 lakh per month as your living expenses, basics, 10 years, it's to live a same lifestyle which you're living today in 1 year, 1 lakh, you will need 2 lakhs. To live a same lifestyle which you're living in 1 lakh, 20 years later, you will need 4 lakhs. And 30 years later, to live a same lifestyle, you will need 8 lakhs. So this is a scenario about your living expenses. Another scenario that we've given is retirement corpus required for such living expenses. 10 years, 3.83 CR. If your living expenses are 1 lakh per month, and if you're going to retire 10 years later, the corpus that you need to plan for is 3.83 crores to live a same lifestyle which you're living today in 1 lakh, but with inflation. 20 years later, if you're retiring and if your expense is 1 lakh per month, you need to plan for 7.65 crores. And 30 years later, if you're retiring, you need 15.31 crores to take care of your expense of 1 lakh per month. This is how the inflation is going to hurt. Yes, we have made some assumptions. You can just read the slide and read the assumptions. The inflation rate is given, and few other things that we have assumed while doing the calculation. The rate of return we've taken as 12% and inflation at 7.2%. Okay, the next thing, wealth terminator. Who is your wealth terminator? You just need to think a little more deeper on this. That's nothing but your own habit, which is procrastination. We always have things that, okay, let me start this few months later. Let me start it next year. Let me do it when market stabilizes. Let me do it when things are more clear. So it's procrastination. And here I'm just going to give you a scenario just for your understanding how procrastination hurts. 2 scenarios, Ajay and Sanjay. Ajay is 30 years and both are 30. Ajay starts his investment at the age of 30. Sanjay says 30 is a very good age. It's time for me to enjoy my life and I'll start it later. He starts investing at 45. Ajay invests 20,000. Sanjay also invests 20,000. Retirement age for both of them is 60. Return rate is same at 12%. Fund value at retirement age for Ajay is 7 crore and for Sanjay is 1 crore. The delay of 15 years has costed him 6 crores. That's the cost of procrastination. So procrastination has terminated Sanjay's wealth by 6 crores. Another scenario, Ajay realizes this, that yes, I'm getting a very less money. All he does is doubles his investments. From 20,000, he starts doing 40,000. In spite of that, fund value at retirement age is 2 crores. So in spite of doubling the investment, the wealth terminated is 5 crores. Procrastination is the worst thing that you can do to your finances, the worst thing that you can do to your wealth building process. Okay, the next one. Who's your wealth genie? Think a little more deeper. That's nothing but compounding. Absolutely, doctor. So 10, 10, 10, 10. When I ask you this, it's going to be very easy. It's just going to be 80%. But same thing when I ask you like this, you would need a calculator to calculate it. Or maybe you'll need some time if you calculate it yourself. Albert Einstein called it eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it, enjoys it. He who doesn't, pays for it in a longer run. Let's see how. 10% compounded interest for 25 years is not 250% return. It is 985%. 100 rupees invested grows to INR 985 if you give it a 25-year time horizon. That's a magic of compounding. So you need to make magic of compounding work in your favor to build your pipelines. Your wealth wildcard, I call it equity. Okay. And you might tell me in times like this is not true. Equity markets are going down world over. People are fearful that you shouldn't be investing into markets right now. I understand this is a different scenario that we're in. But at the same time, there is a considerable correction that has happened in the market and it's further expected in the market. So probably this would be like one of the best times to enter market if you have a good time horizon for yourself. What's the difference between both the things? Like I have given an example of Warren Buffett. James Quincy is an employee of Coke and Warren Buffett is an investor of Coke. So James earns 1 million per year as a salary and Mr. Buffett earns 1.5 million per day just from the stock dividends. On the left-hand side, he's working for money. And on the right-hand side, it's a clear example of money working for you. So you will again tell me that this slide abhi ke time mein kaam nahi aayega because, you know, the rate of return in equity, if you see today's figures, they are considerably low. But these are the times and situations like this. When you see after a rebound or after a year and a half, when things normalize, the situation is going to be different. So the real rate of return on equity is always higher as compared to your other asset classes. And that is the reason that you need to have equity in your portfolio through whatever way you are comfortable, you need to have it in your portfolio. And that will actually be a wild card in the portfolio, which will help you making your pipeline. People say market crash ho jayega, abhi to things are not really going to improve. But trust me, markets have witnessed more events than what you and me have. And it has stayed and it will stay. Yes, volatility is an inherent nature of the market. Without volatility, there can be no stock markets. So that's very much a part of it. So markets have witnessed more events than you. All you need to do is have patience and plan it as per your financial goals. That's very, very important. People ask me what kind of stock should I buy when I start investing in equity. I would just say look around in your drawing room. And this is just one example that we've given of a drawing room. Havells, Crompton Greaves, Bajaj Electricals, the day-to-day things that you're using, the favorite brands of your own self, or you feel people are preferring this brand. All that you need to do is just buy them. You can have a goal that by the time I retire, I want to have 0.05% stake in maybe Asian Paints by accumulating that number of shares. Like per month, you can have 2, 3, 2, 3, 4. And that's how you can build your portfolio. You can identify 5 to 6 good companies, and all you're doing is just buying those month on month and building a very strong portfolio. And again, when it comes to your portfolio, it has to be very simple. You should be able to see your entire portfolio just on one page. The more simple you keep it, the more easier it will be for you. So everything should be just there on the page. Like one page, you should have all your investments. Again, look at your kitchen, look at your washroom. There are so many things and so many brands that you can think of. So many brands that you can think of, which you can just go on accumulating. But again, between all this, you should not forget about asset allocation. So because I said equity, it doesn't mean that you just buy equities, but you need to follow your asset allocation: stock, bond, real estate, cash, gold. All of it needs to be a part of your portfolio. So follow that, and then you buy your assets. The last and the most important, irreplaceable wealth creation ingredient. It's irreplaceable. If you don't have this, wealth creation is not possible. It's not like an overnight journey or a magic. Speculation can work once or twice, but not always. And that's nothing but time. This is a compounding formula, which we all have learned in the school. A is equal to P, which is a present value, 1 plus R upon 100 raised to T. What investors generally focus on is R. Returns kitna mil raha hai. But what you actually ignore is the time. Time that you're going to spend with the investment is going to make it grow. But we generally focus always on returns. So this is the most important ingredient, and it cannot be replaced. Time literally means money. So if you have 10 years, you can grow your wealth by 4 times, 20 years, 16 times, 30 years, 67 times, and 40 years, 267 times. In a 30-year investment period, the first 10 years contribute 80% of your wealth. That's what we also saw in Power of Compounding. And same thing this says, that time means money. So you have to spend that time with your investments. Well, races are not won by accelerating on the top gear, but they are won by changing the gears at the right time. And it's time for you to start changing your gears and start thinking about winning your races. One disclaimer that I would like to make: financial decisions are to be made as per your personal risk appetite. And please consult your personal financial advisor before making any financial decision. Before I end it, so I have just completed my time of 45 minutes. I tried and gave you insights to whatever best I can, but 45 minutes is a very limited time for me to update you on your financial planning. But we'll be more than happy to take up questions. If you have any questions or anything that you need related to your personal finance, I'll be more than happy to answer it individually. My email ID is given here. Please feel free to write an email, and yes, I will make a point to get back to you. Even in this COVID situation, irrespective, if you need some kind of an action plan, or if you need something, please feel free to drop an email, and we'll be more than happy to connect with you and help you understand your concern. So that's my Twitter handle and email, and I'll come back to that slide. But stay tuned on this page itself. And the next session, Rewrite Your Money Story 2, is going to be about planning your investment into debt and equity. And we're going to have these sessions from industry stalwarts, some really big speakers and big names. So stay tuned for more information. And yeah, we will update you soon with the other details. With this, I end my session. Thank you so much for patient listening. And over to Dr. Samir and Dr. Kaushal for questions and other things. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to connect with all of you.
Sir, you're mute.
Thank you, Kathy, for this wonderful, wonderful presentation. It sure has been an eye-opener for many of us. Now, whenever we teach and train our juniors, we always tell them that before you go on to surgery, you should have a strong base. You should remember and learn and relearn your anatomy, which means that the base, if it is good, then only can you do a good job. So similarly, your emphasis on building a pipeline and not just carrying buckets, and building a wealth pyramid with whatever be the contingency plans, or whether it's cash or savings or FDs or debt, whatever. It's very important that we understand the significance of this whole thing, and then later on we go and acquire and try and make wealth by going into stocks or real estate or whatever be your choice or your circumstances, etc. And it's very well said that if you do not know where you are going, any road will do. But thank you very much for telling us which road we should be following so that we can reach to the right destination in the shortest possible time. Time, you have emphasized, is extremely, extremely important. So, people who are in the equity markets, they keep saying that you must time the market, and, everywhere you say, okay, oh, this is a good time to buy. But you have emphasized that timing may be important, but spending time, not only in planning, but also in whatever asset class you want to invest, is also extremely important that we must do. And of course, also you highlighted that the wealth terminator is procrastination, and we are all guilty of that. So we will definitely want to take the right steps as early as possible. And time spent is important in planning what you're doing. So with these few words, let us now start taking questions, because we have a large number of questions that have come in, and people are very, very anxious to know what we should do at the right time given these circumstances.
Sure.
So can Dr. Kaushal start with the first question?
Yeah, Kathy, that explanation of the financial pyramid was really wonderful and in very lucid language. That's the feedback that I'm getting from so many delegates across. I like to say one thing, that you said that Albert Einstein said that the power of compounding should be the eighth wonder. Yes. Actually, you need to reframe it and put it as the first wonder, because it affects all of us. And the sooner we understand it, the better. So this also reminds me of a saying by Benjamin Graham, that famous investor, that it's good to have the money and the things that money can buy. But once in a while, it's always good to check up what things you've lost that your money could have bought.
Absolutely. And yeah, I will just add one more thing to what you said. It's like, when you plan your finances is one part of your life. But when you have that in place, it's like, it helps you plan your life holistically, because planning also tells you where and when to stop. Like for someone, 5 crores is enough. For someone, it may be 50. So having your emotional, physical, mental, and financial health, all 4 in place, will help you lead a holistic life, which is absolutely right, as you said, Doctor.
Right. Shall I go on to the questions? Are you ready? Right. I'm going to bombard you. So we've clubbed a lot of questions together and put it under the same heading. The most obvious one, in this post-COVID scenario or the ongoing COVID scenario, what changes should one make to their investment?
Okay. So first and foremost, this is a good time for you to understand your actual risk appetite. Because till now, we were talking about uncertainty. Today, we have faced it, right? We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
True.
When the going is good, you keep feeling you're an aggressive investor and you're okay to take risk. But in such situation, there is a possibility that your risk appetite have changed. So first is check your risk appetite. Based on your risk appetite, redo your equity and debt balancing if you need to do. And importantly, if you have real estates, kind of properties lying idle, which you've not yet rented it, it's a good idea to start thinking about generating more income and cash flow from that. So
the real estate is down, completely down.
I'm saying putting it on rent, rather than it just lying idle. You can think about putting it on rent. You can think about Airbnb-ing it. So a lot of our clients, we have been recommending that you should I mean, now, of course, Airbnb is not a good time, but this is a temporary situation. When things go okay, a year, 6 months, year down the line, you can start. So basically, after facing this uncertainty, rebalance your portfolio, revisit your risk appetite, and check what are the income streams or what are the cash flow streams that you can generate out of your investments. These are the 3 most important things that you should be doing.
Right. So next.
So nowadays, we are all, bombarded with investment advice as to which stocks you should be buying and what mutual funds we should be buying. So do you think it is, this is the most common question that has come, that is it a good time to buy right now? Is it a good time to put everything, all your eggs into one basket right now?
The answer is no, 100% no. You should always follow your asset allocation, no matter what. Never put all your eggs in one basket. Number 1. Number 2, yes, I see this question coming from a lot of investors. And we, right now we're living in the FOMO world, fear of missing out. That if we don't invest in the market, we will miss the bus. But don't be into that fear. Make a point to have enough emergency fund. Make a point to have adequate health insurance for your family. After that, if you're left with some money, invest in market, but go in small little tranches, because Absolutely. This is a first wave. आप markets में देखोगे तो whenever you see history, whenever there is a downfall, उसके बाद एक retrenchment आता है. Markets went to 7,500. Now we are back at 9,400. This is a retrenchment. But after lockdown, the effects on the economy of COVID-19, we are yet to see. The job cut, the job losses, wo sab abhi, it's yet to come. So after that comes, the corporate numbers will not be that great. The GST collection figures have already not been that great. So you will see market will further come down. So what you ideally need to do is break your money into 10 equal tranches. Every time it dips, go on investing little by little. Until Diwali, till year end, markets will remain volatile until something drastic happens, like suddenly FIIs invest a lot of money in India, or suddenly something changes, then market might change. But in my view, it will remain volatile for next 6 to 8 months. So the answer is divide your money into small tranche, invest into small bits of pieces. You're not really going to miss out on anything. Have enough liquidity, and then you can do this. But again, follow your asset allocation and follow your risk appetite.
So Khyati, there are 2 questions, one from a 65-year-old gentleman and one from a 70-year-old gentleman.
Okay.
Is it a good time for them to get into equity? So is there a formula by which you decide that, well, my risk appetite should be so much. At this age, I must be invested only so much into the risk assets, whether it be equity, whether it be mutual fund, whether it be real estate or whatever. So is there some formula?
Sure. So I will give you a very simple formula, which everyone can implement. It's 100 minus age. That's the amount of money you need to have in equity. So 100 minus 70 is 30. So not more than 30% of your money should be in equity. And again, अगर आप ऐसे time पे equity में invest कर रहे, so you need to be prepared that you have to stay invested in equity for a period of 4 to 5 years. So at that age, if you have that preparedness, and if you're not really dependent on that money for a short term, then yes, you can enter equity and stick to pure large cap or stick to pure index fund if you're going in for a mutual fund.
So which means you are saying that if you are young, and even if, because this is a risk asset, even if you lose money, you still have time to come back and you can still go back and invest and earn some money. But at a certain age, it is better to be a little prudent and be very sure what your aims are. Okay.
Probably at this age, you should think more about preservation of your capital rather than getting more interest and more money out of it at that age.
Absolutely.
So the question is that if that is the case, then should at that age people be only doing into debt instruments, and whether that is going to beat inflation or no?
So see, at that age, it's not going to be about beating inflation. It's going to be about keeping pace with inflation. When you're talking about 65, 70, you're talking about sustenance for next 15 to 20 years of your life. Now, at the same time, if you put money in equity, and if you get stuck in a situation like this, which we are in presently, you won't be able to pull out your money for at least 1.5 to 2 to 3 years till the time situation normalizes. So you ideally should be making again small buckets of the money that you dependent on, that you should park it in a more safer bets, and money that you're not really dependent on and you can wait for next 4 to 5 years, that you can bet it in equity, again sticking to large cap and indexes only. So small percentage, but not more than that, which will help you take care of inflation few years down the line.
So, Khyati, there is another question which says that that he invested December 2007. You said the index was at 20,000, and for some reason he had to, ride through this whole thing. And finally, on the 24th of March 2020, he landed up having to sell everything when the index was at 27,000. So, what is your advice to such people?
So again, when he had to sell, has he written any reason why he had to sell it, or it was just out of panic and fear?
Desperation, panic.
So that's what it's very important that you don't panic at such times. I mean, these are the times which are of course going to come in the market, and if you talk to seasoned investors, they always wait for such time. And ideally, from your kitty, always create 10% of your money as an opportunity fund. That jab bhi mujhe like any such kind of opportunities I come across, I will straight away park my money. May it be real estate, may it be equity, whatever it is. But you need to have your opportunity fund in place. And markets go down, but after that, there are times when they come up. So all that you need to do is have patience. And maybe one thing that you might want to do is rejig the sectors that you are invested in. Because post-COVID, there'll be some sectors which will perform extremely well and some will not perform well. So maybe you might want to rebalance that in your portfolio. But exiting, especially in fear and panic, it's an absolute no-no. Had the gentleman stayed, in just 1 month's time, he could have recovered much more.
Khyati,
it's like Warren Buffett says, be greedy when others are fearful, and be fearful when others are greedy. So
right. So Khyati, is this the right time to invest in gold or the gold bonds if the equity market are so volatile?
So gold, first is it's already run up considerably. Inversely related, gold is generally very inversely related to your markets. When markets don't do good, when there's a lot of global uncertainty, gold always does good. Gold has to be a part of your portfolio. It acts as a hedge in the portfolio, but again, not more than 5 to 10% of your portfolio. So you should have gold, but not more than 5 to 10%. And the best way to buy gold is buying sovereign gold bonds from the government of India and buying it in the e-form rather than a physical form. The best thing about sovereign gold fund is it also gives you 2.5% return annually. So over and above the price appreciation, you also get 2.5% return on the gold. So that's a lot more safer bet.
One very interesting question, that doctors quite often have a large amount of cash income.
Correct.
So the question is, how do you invest? Should you declare that entire income? And IT people are watching our show. Huh? So declaring all that income, because if you do not have any money in the bank or white income, you will not be able to buy any assets. So what is your advice?
Ideally, it makes sense for you to declare it. The best is, of course, you'll have to talk with your tax advisor and see what is the best ways for you to declare it in a way that you can claim maximum of your professional deductions also. And you have to convert it, and declare it. That's when you'll be able to invest it. Because if you're not doing that, there is a lot of opportunity also which you're losing in the market. And as I said, India as a country is moving from physicalization of assets to financialization of assets. So going forward, we are going to have a bill on real estate coming soon. We are going to have a bill on gold coming soon. So when all of those things come, you anyways have to declare it. So it makes sense that you start declaring it and start building your wealth, But at the same time, there are a lot of different ways. You can form an LLP, you can have an HUF, you can have a trust. There are different ways that you can do it and make it more tax efficient.
So better tax planning is required.
Yes, better tax planning is required.
One gentleman is asking that I haven't done any planning as of now. He's around 50 50 years, and most of his investments are only bank FDs. So what do you suggest? What should he do at the age of 50?
So see, first and foremost, a nascent investor to all the other asset classes still now have invested in FD. First thing that you need to do is keep your FD as it is, convert your FDs into monthly mode of interest. Whatever interest you are generating, start investing that interest into other asset classes so that you get more comfortable by understanding equity and understanding other debt instruments. And once you're comfortable, follow the asset allocation suite and then start partially withdrawing your money from FD and start parking towards other asset classes as per your financial goals.
So now,
but first do it with small money, get comfortable, and then you move on to other asset classes.
What is your advice? Should people go into then, whether it is debt fund or whatever, should they go in for the growth option or dividend option, given the new taxation laws that have come?
Growth, 100% growth, because dividend you'll ultimately end up paying more tax.
Okay.
Yeah,
even if you have something in dividend, make a point to shift it
to gold. To
what is
yes.
Okay? What is your advice to doctors who most of their earnings they put in buying new and latest equipment and gadgetries? One is to increase their skills and one is to get a top hand over the others. So do you think they are increasing their risk beyond their capacity, or should they be doing investments rather than this?
So first thing, I mean, when we spoke about the cornerstones of your practice, you need to understand that what is the structure, scalability, and profitability of your practice. So by doing that, what is the kind of a profitability that you as a doctor are really going to generate? And you will have to compare it with, when you're doing this, what are the other goals which simultaneously are going to come at the same time? And what are the things that you possibly are putting on a backseat by doing this? So you need to understand the scale that buying this equipment will give you and how good it will be for your overall financial life. If not, ideally what you should do is, again, create a fund, create a small kitty where you're parking some amount every month, and every year you're accumulating some money just to buy your equipment. So that whenever the time comes, you're just pulling money out of that kitty and buying your equipment. So ideally you should have a budget that, every year I'm not going to spend more than X amount of money on the equipment. Or maybe look for a better leveraging kind of an options, which are also there. I have been hearing about that. So some options where you can leverage the output of the machinery, which maybe we can speak about it individually to anyone who has queries on that.
What about FMPs? There's a question whether fixed maturity plans, FMPs, are they something that we should look at in this present scenario?
Okay, see, coming to a debt fund, FMP is a part of a debt fund. And a debt basically has three kinds of risks. One is the credit risk, second is the interest rate risk, and third is the liquidity risk. Okay. The only thing that happens in FMP is you have to stay put till the maturity. You don't have a choice to come in between. And if the papers that your FMP is holding is a good quality paper, if they are sovereign, if that's AAA rated, if you're sure of the coupon payments from those corporate bonds, if you're sure of the quality, you can invest in FMPs. But I would suggest a more simpler debt fund with a similar kind of a maturity horizon would be better, because there is more transparency there.
Little more risk to get those extra 2-3% return, right?
Yes. Not even 2-3, it'll hardly work out to be 1-1.5%.
One interesting question is, you gave some example of 100 minus age should be your equity investment, your portfolio. Now, in this portfolio, how much of percentage should be large caps, mid caps, and small caps? So
again, that purely depends on your individual risk appetite. So of course, you need to have more of a large caps. Mid size, like if you're a very young person, you can have more of mid caps because you can wait for another few years till your retirement and till your goals mature, and some small portion into small cap for sure, because that is they have a potential to give you a very high returns. So again, that should be as per your risk appetite. It will be difficult for me to say that this is a thumb rule to put this much into large, small, and mid.
So do you have some asset allocation depending upon the age that, well, this much should be into, this much into debt, this much into equity, and this much into real estate? Is there a formula?
Yes. So first is 100 minus age is completely into equity. Whatever balance you are left with, if you are a very conservative investor, then maybe you can park the balance divided into debt, gold, and real estate. So again, gold has to be 5% of your portfolio, and the balance can equally be divided between real estate and the debt investment. So because real estate is illiquid and your debt will be relatively very liquid.
Yeah, so real estate only in that period from 2003 to 13 ran up, and then it's not done anything. Gold over a long period of time just gives fits and starts. So when you say gold, is it in gold bonds, gold ETFs, or even physical gold is something that you would include? Because every family has a bit of physical gold.
Correct. So, but what happens is, again, when you talk about a financial plan, we generally don't consider a physical gold because it's an emotional attachment. So again, in your financial plan, few things like your first home, because it's an emotional attachment, irrespective of the value, still you're going to continue staying in the house. Your personal jewelry, with which there is an emotional attachment, and your car. These things are never considered as your asset. These are actually your liabilities.
Right.
I mean, the gold will take a locker rent. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you, but our delegates have crossed 1,500 plus. You've got viewers right from Dibrugarh to Faridabad to Morbi to Pune to God knows probably every city in India. You shared quite a lot of people's interest.
And you're going to spend the next 1 week in answering the questions because we will not be able to cover everything. We have another 15 minutes to go. So one very, very relevant question has come up. The first thing you mentioned that your base should be good. The pyramid should be very broad based, and for which you should be doing a term insurance. So there are lots of questions regarding whether it should be just a term insurance, whether a money back, whether an endowment. Also, most of our, if it's a young person, then yes, it makes sense that you have a good term insurance. But if you're 55 and you have earned fair amount of money, do you think that term insurance is as pertinent at that age as compared to at a younger age?
Sure. So first thing is term plan insurance is nothing. It's just about replacing your income. So you only need it for replacement of income. Number one. Number two, it is all about, it's about passing the risk that your family has to an insurance company. So these are the two basics of a term insurance. It has to be a term insurance only. It doesn't make sense to have a money back or an endowment because when you calculate your IRR, it will hardly come to 4.5% to 5%, which is not even going to keep pace with inflation again. So keeping your insurance and investment separate is always advisable. This is a basic. Now coming to how much you should have. You should have term plan equivalent to your human life value, which is a little complicated formula. I won't take you through that. I'll give you a very simple thing. Whatever is your annual income into 10 times, you need to have that much cover. So internationally also, it has been proven that your expenses up to 10 times are sufficient for your family to take care of all your future responsibilities, like maybe the child's education, maybe daughter's marriage, and for your spouse to take care of her living expenses post-death. So thumb rule, gross income into 10 times. Answering another part of your question, if you have sufficient assets, do you need it? No, you don't really need it because assets are going to take care of your family. They're going to build income for you. And if there is no income loss to the family after death, then you don't really need to have a term insurance.
Because the older you get, your premiums are going to be much, much higher. So it's best that you start early and whatever be the amount that you want to go into, right?
Yes.
So there's a doctor who's asking, he's very busy, senior colleague. So for him, would a mutual fund be better or a direct stock market investment?
Mutual fund is much better because you don't have to keep a track of it. And you can actually go in for a combination of active funds and passive funds both, just to make it more better. A combination of index funds along with actively managed funds.
There's another question that given the volatility in the market, as every financial investor, will say that no, you should not be trying to time it. So there is an entity called STPs. So is that what people should follow during these turbulent times?
Systematic transfer plans. So basically, if you have excess money lying in your debt fund, which you don't really require, that can be shifted to equity by using a weekly STP option. Not even monthly, you should go for a weekly option to get more benefit of more volatility. And all the AMCs majorly support weekly STP options.
Fine, I think we have.
Yeah, Kaushal.
Sir, go ahead.
You briefly mentioned about whether you have a proprietary firm or an LLP, but that's about the taxation part. So would you just briefly tell us about that? We will tackle it in detail in our next meetings.
So see, basically, if you're a professional or if you're a doctor, having a team of doctors, okay, making a company makes sense, and paying them the share, the professional fees, whatever it is, paying them through that companies will also make more sense. Plus, what happens is there is any risk. I mean, in the profession, any kind of risk that comes to you can straight away shifted to your company. If you're as an LLP, if you are running your practice, the risk can actually be the company's risk.
But so, Kathy, is it as simple that an LLP will be taxed at 25% and as an individual, depending upon your income, you'll be at whatever 30, 33, 40%? Is it that simple, or there is much more to it?
So LLP is still taxed at the regular tax rate. LLP, they have not reduced it to 25. Private limited companies are at 25%. But individually, yes, you'll be taxed at your slab rates, whatever the slab rates are. And in an LLP, it's like once you form it, each and everything can possibly be claimed as an expense also. Plus, you can create two different entities. You are a different entity, make a different balance sheet for yourself. Your company is a different entity, make a different balance sheet and create a very strong capital account for your company. So, it's like on paper, you have two different entities. So tax-wise also it is good. And it is also good to manage the risk of your profession.
Kathy, I'm sure in the next sessions when we should take up HUF in detail, because many of the delegates don't know much about it. That's the legal way to make more white money.
Correct. We can cover about LLP, trust formation and HUF.
Most of the doctors who have disposable cash can easily be converted into an HUF.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Also, we'll have another session on taxation only, which will cover all these.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I told you.
There are a lot of different ways, but I will not talk about it on this forum.
Within the framework of the law.
Yes.
Right. Now, Kathy, there is an observation that the inflation rate in India is high, and every few years our rupee keeps on depreciating. So finally, at the end of X number of years, whenever you want to travel abroad, you need to shell out more money. So does it make sense that if you start investing in foreign funds, so in your returns will be in dollar terms, and all this issue about the depreciated rupee will automatically be taken care of?
Yes, 100%. That has to be a part of your. I did not speak about it because I didn't want to go too much into detail. But international equity is one thing which you have to consider in your equity portfolio. There are two things. One is, of course, we keep traveling. Second is you might want to send your kids abroad. Even if you don't want to do both these things, still, if you consider the Dollar index, the difference between Sensex and the dollar, it's generally 3.5 to 4% every year. So even if you've got a return of 12 to 13%, 4%, तो आपका depreciation में ही चला जाता है. The rupee depreciation has already eaten it off. So it makes sense that you diversify some of your equity investments into international markets. Probably dollar denominated would make a lot more sense. And then if you have more risk appetite and if you want to diversify more, then European and China market also makes sense. But first, to begin with, US market it's 100% advisable that you need to diversify into other countries as well. Plus, I'll add one more thing to this. 5 years, 10 years down the line, we're all talking about consumerism. And we know that consumerism is going to grow when we go ahead. And when I talk about consumerism, which are the companies that are benefiting? The young guys, the millennials coming are fond of using Apple phones. After this, Amazon is going to be all the more favored. People might not want to go out and take that kind of risks. You're talking about using Google for each and every smallest thing, from changing your speech to your text to every smallest thing. So ultimately, these companies' profits are going to go up, and they're all listed there. So if you have to be a part of it, you have to be invested in the US market.
Yeah, but we almost must remember that technology sometimes can change. So every few years, there is something that drastically changes everything. So
absolutely,
we need to keep our mind stable before we invest there.
Yes. Importantly, I'll add one more thing, Doctor. It's important for you to also keep reviewing it. It's not that once your plan is done and you've invested, we just leave it. It's like it's very important that every 3 months you take half a day out and revisit your investments and see what is the need to change it. Like we do it with our clients every 3 months, compulsorily we have to review it with them and tell them what is okay and what needs to be changed. So even when it comes to your investments, it's very, very important that you keep reviewing every 3 months or every 6 months.
So you should not just sit tight. You should sit tight only if you keep reviewing your portfolio from
100%. 100%.
And the problem is in India, only about 8 to 10% of the population, probably even lesser than that, invest in equity as compared to almost 60
only
to 80%
3%.
in Canada. 3%. Oh, sorry. 3%. Thank you for correcting me. That's pretty sad.
Is that the number of people or that investment value from 6 to 0? Okay, I think have another so many questions that are, but we are now almost at the
1.5 hours into the session. The room will crash, I think.
Yeah, but I think we should, any discussion on finance should never miss out on government bonds, RBI bonds, PPF. What is your take on that?
PPF, RBI bonds, safe haven has to be a part of your debt portfolio. I mean, that's like you are getting a certain amount of money. RBI bonds are taxable, PPF is tax-free. Make a point to have your allocations towards those investments. And like when you talk about equity as an asset class, there has to be a sub-asset allocation. You have to diversify into international equity, mutual funds, direct equity, index funds, all of that. Similarly, when it comes to debt, you have to have towards PPF, towards RBI bonds, and towards debt funds, partially towards FD, also for your emergency fund. So one is asset allocation, and then sub-asset allocation with different duration is also very, very important.
I like to add something here. PPF is something you should start investing the day you turn 18.
Absolutely.
First week of April is the time when you go in and put 75,000 rupees if you have a spare surplus into your PPF account. That is almost 8% tax-free, and over 30 years, 25 years, it's going to give you a big corpus.
And again, ideally, every month, if you're investing, put it before 5th of every month, because that's how the PPF calculation works.
Right.
If you put it after 5th, you will lose on the interest. So put it before 5th of every month, and probably entire 1.5 lakh just before 5th of April, as Doctor said, would make a lot of sense, because then you earn interest for the entire year.
So what if you land up, putting in the money in the first week of March before that financial year ends? You will still get the entire interest for the entire year.
No, you'll only get it for that period. When you've not parked your money, you don't get the money. You don't get the interest.
Need to clarify that, because that's what a lot of people think. This is what can be done.
That's giving you tax saving. That's it.
also something which maybe you can just highlight is, ULIPs were very, very popular as when people, they were an excuse for your life insurance, and they went into out of favor because of the amount of incentive that the agents used to get. So just a couple of lines on that before we wind up for the day.
So 2014, again, the ULIPs were revisited by IRDAI. And they have been very strictly governed by our IRDA. and there are very fixed cappings and ceilings on the charges. There are some ULIPs in the market without any charges also. And in some cases, maybe if you're looking for a tax-free kind of a return, there is a way that you can buy a ULIP in your company's name, and whatever premium you are paying can be claimed as an expense in your company, and you can eventually save tax on that money. So there are ways that you can make ULIP beneficial for you. In a given scenario, the fund management charges are partially higher than your mutual fund. The mortality rate is partially higher than what you would actually pay for your term plan. So that is the two differences. Otherwise, it is at par with the mutual fund, or I would say just mildly below mutual funds.
Right, lot of our queries regarding equity, debt, mutual funds, we will be covering in our next program, because a lot of questions are directed towards which funds we should buy, whether we should be into small caps or mid caps or large caps, and a lot of questions. I think we will address all those in our next part 2, the money story part 2. So Kaushal, I think every good thing needs to end, and today we've had such a fantastic response as you told us, and thank you, Khyati, for a wonderful talk and a wonderful discussion. I think a lot of queries have been cleared up with all your very, very nice answers, and I think we look forward to you also replying to the participants, their individual questions whenever it is possible. And look forward to further participation with you at some program in the near future. Kaushal, any other suggestions for the next program that we are going to have?
I think.
No, I think.
Yeah, Kaushal, we can hear you. Your screen is frozen.
I think there's some issue with the internet.
Yeah, can you hear us, Kaushal? Okay. With this, I think we conclude today's program, and would like to thank not only Khyati, Vama Events, and our audience for participating in this, and for all the questions that came across to make this entire discussion a very, very lively one. Thank you once again.
Perfect. Thank you so much. It